If more people would understand it just take 2 workouts per week, get into shape, we would see a lot more fit people. Actually, most people don't believe this, but it's true. I'm gonna attempt to break the national muscle up record, training just 2 times per week. I'm 35 and I weigh 180 pounds or roughly 80 kilos. So I'm gonna show you the exact step-by-step how you can do it. And it's very similar, for instance, to the mindset of Dorian Yates, who was an elite bodybuilder who trained less and achieved more. He did 45 minutes of working out 4 times per week, but we don't want to become bodybuilders. At least that's probably not why you're watching this video. But then again, the question arises, how is it actually possible to do something like this? Why don't we see more people that are in great shape if this is true? So this is kind of the mindset of Steve Jobs, who said that simple can be harder than complex. You have to work hard to get your thinking clean to make it simple, but it's worth in the end because once you get there, you can move mountains. So 99% of people are motivated in the start, but then go into too complex or too high frequency workouts. Instead, you want to think about how can I show up 2 times per week for the next 2 years. Now that's a complete mindset shift, right? Because now you have to take your time, you have to figure out how do you actually stress the muscle, what does it mean to break down the muscle tissue through progressive overload as well as reps close to failure. But there's a lot more than just the workouts, right? This mindset shift will completely change the way you think because now you have to take your time and build up that muscle and endurance. But B, you also have to figure out how to make it fun because 2 years is quite a long time compared to that just showing up to that quick boot camp of 30 days. But that quick boot camp won't get you to those long-term results. Of course, I think it's great that you start with the first step, 30 days, and then move from there into the, I would say, even mid-term target of going to 2 years, because then you want to make it to 2 decades. For instance, yes, I've started to train at age 33 seriously 2 times per week because I started to understand that it's more than just working out twice per week, which I will also break down in this video. I've been training different sports for like 2 decades and that starts to compound over age. Similar to your investments, the choices that you make earlier will start to compound. Now we know that we live in a time where most people are very immobile, sitting passively at the computer. You need to work out, right? We also see that, for instance, testosterone levels are super low, and you can counter it with a 2 times per week workout schedule because then there's a lot more that you can do because there are other moving parts in this as well. And these are the parts that we will actually figure out together, and I call it the core of the 80-20 rule. This is a blueprint based on the 80-20 rule, which the 19th century Italian mathematician Vilfredo Pareto said that he discovered very quickly that 20% of landowners own 80% of the economy. And we also see this in sports and other areas of life where you can do small actionable steps that are high impact and make those 80% of results as long as you show up long enough. So of course, when there's other parts here, it might sound, a little bit complex, right? But that's why we break down today the core of training, nutrition, mindset, and recovery, as well as productivity and wealth, because these are all a holistic approach to all of this, where you can start to see patterns that if you do them correctly, you will see results. And I also made sure that you can actually download it, so make sure you check the description to find out more of the 80-20 blueprint. But also follow for more. So like one of the best investors of all time, Charlie Munger, suggests like these mental models is how you actually view the world. Make this mindset shift and you'll start to see this interwoven lattice work where you view fitness more holistically. Similar mindset shifts have happened in Silicon Valley, for instance with the biohacker Brian Johnson's anti-aging routine where he wants to become like 18 again he's paying like 2 million a year for this. Maybe you don't have to pay that much, like 2 million for something like that. But also in high-performing industries like finance. And when you start to do this more holistic approach to fitness, these things start to compound, and then you have the chance to become like Tom Cruise in his 60s. Like you can move well and you know, you got all the cool movements and you feel like you're ready for action, right? But of course, you can think like Warren Buffett, who is getting up there in the age, but he's quoted as eating like one Big Mac meal per day. So that's kind of the counter argument that why do you even need fitness when everything is up to chance? But I would say it's not up to chance, because when you start to do these small, highly actionable steps that are high impact, you will also start to see more quality of your life, and that way you will also see a higher chance of longevity, living a highly functional, long life. Yeah, let's go. Let's break some records, and yeah, we're ready. All right, so that's, I think, a new national record here in Finland, where I'm from. Like, man, like over the last 5 years, I've done like 15,000 muscle ups, and 80% of those are in the last like 2 years, when I started to focus more on like my training 2 times per week and more focused training with the core. So pretty damn cool to be at this age and do something super cool like this. Like, I was inspired in the summer of 2021, where I saw this Belarusian athlete, Max True, who did the muscle up Guinness World Record. And I was like, man, I learned the muscle up that was in 2013 when I was working out in a park in Montreal, Canada. And somehow I managed to bang out a muscle up. And then now, like 2 years ago, I started to focus on this thanks to Max's Guinness World Record. And that's actually now more reps than he's done in that record. So I could say that I broke the previous Guinness World Record, maybe, I don't know. Of course, like maybe my technique and the pose above the bar wasn't as excellent as his was, but I'm super pumped about this. So now that you see this, again, go back to the basics and start to think about like, okay, what are the short-term actionable steps that you can do? So like, if you think about it, so then you start to write down, okay, so what is my next 30 days? What can I do? What can I show up to? And then you start to think about the 2 years, and hopefully after 2 years become inspired what you can do in 2 decades. So what is that actually that you want to do? On the training part, you want to do 2 times workout per week, strength training. You want to go reps to failure, pushing, pulling, core, and the legs. Actually, like a few years ago when I broke the national muscle up record for the first time, I did that in 90 days. You can also watch the video at the end of this one to see that journey. But the big error I did there was I basically rushed it too much. I did it in only 90 days. I got it officially in like 6 months. So I only did for 6 months muscle ups. You don't want to do something like this where you're just doing pulls. You want to do push, pull, legs, core. You want to do 10 sets per muscle group per week. And if that's unclear, make sure you download the program in the description. Next, you also want to make sure that you start incorporating a better positive mindset. Now that might sound like fluff, right? But if you think about it, like a fixed mindset means basically that you're almost like this cynical person who's like, I just think that there's one approach to doing all of this. All of the answers have been figured out. I don't know, I don't have a chance of getting in shape. Instead, when you go to the workout spot, you want to be much more optimistic that, okay, I believe that just these small actions will bring me somewhere. And then you can have that grand vision, but you make sure you have a structure for your training. And you start believing in yourself. You have a more open gesture and posture so that you can start making those small adjustments. Next up, of course, recovery part. Like we know, and you've seen me perhaps also do this cold exposure. That's all cool, but you want to make sure you do it early in the morning and not at night, because we see from cold exposure it actually blunts your hypertrophy benefits of protein synthesis, basically that you recover the muscles after the workout. And after the workout you can actually use, like we have like 5 million saunas in Finland, so you can use warm exposure, which is great for recovery. Then you can sleep in a cool room. This is the best way to do it. Of course, I've also shown in previous videos that I use hand cooling intra-workout, which then cools down the core. That way you recover faster, up to even 200-300% in the workout, improve your performance. So next up, we have nutrition. Now this is the most important part when you start thinking about those six-pack abs and building muscles. So of course during the workout you're breaking down the muscle tissue with micro stress and fractures. So in the nutrition part, which we also break down in the 80-20 blueprint, which you can download again in the description, is what you eat, how much you eat, and when you eat. And how much you eat is the most important part. You need to make sure that you write down a goal that you want to build muscle or burn fat. It can't be both at the same time. You should focus on one or the other. Build muscle or burn fat, and then manage your calories based on this. Then of course you have the macronutrients. It's great that if you actually count your calories during the day in the beginning to discover what is your baseline of how much you burn, how much you eat, etc. And of course the fasting part is like, we know a lot of research shows that how important like the gut health is for serotonin production, and really just making sure that you can actually think clearly. So intermittent fasting is excellent for autophagy, ketosis, and all of these other things. And it can also help you to burn fat, lose weight, mostly because it's kicking you into a calorie deficit. Then finally, it's about productivity and wealth. So if you really think about exercise being separate from your normal life, you're not thinking holistically enough. You want to make sure that your day is scheduled in a manner that workout doesn't feel actually like something extra, but actually that your productivity is great in the morning. You can do intermittent fasting, 4 hours of deep work early in the morning, as well as I really recommend that you use your phone on black and white mode and that you don't have social media on it. That's what I've been doing for 6 months now. So that way you can start to think about all of these things in a much more broader way, but still enough to take specific enough actions that it doesn't just become fluff. All right, so make sure you download the 80-20 blueprint. That's it for today. Very cool that you were part of this journey. I'm very excited about this result. And I would also like you to comment what kind of results have you been seeing doing a much more simple approach to fitness. Do you have any records that you can talk about, or even like some small goals? I'd love to hear about it. Keep it simple, stupid. Do less to achieve more. And like Steve Jobs said, when you keep it simple, you can start moving mountains. See you in the next video.